And Stephen is not the only writer for the series who grew up loving the show.
Ladies and gentlemen, I am Richard Lazarus. I am 76 years old. And I am reborn!
Why is it peculiarly hard to write an episode of Doctor Who?
It's a tough balancing act, you know, particularly the Saturday night bear pit. I remember having conversations about the seance scene in The Unquiet Dead, which so much wanted to be played almost in the dark with a little gaslight, and it's like, well, we can't. People might think the TV's gone off. You know? All these things you never even consider. You want to have a mass appeal at the same time, try and do something different. You want to have lots of fun, but you also want to scare. It's because the format of the show is unique. That's the difficult thing. It's not like writing for anything else.
And Gareth, this is the third year, but the first year you've written an episode.
Yeah. Miss Jones, will you accompany me to the theatre?
Mr. Smith, I will.
When you get home, you can tell everyone you've seen Shakespeare.
Then I could get sectioned.
I think when I got a copy of the finished episode and saw my name on the credits, that's a really strange feeling. Right in the middle of the screen, as the time tunel's going, it's you!
Yeah.
And that was a really strange feeling.
Yeah. Do you think you would both be doing what you're doing today without Doctor Who?
It runs through my career like a skein of rock. It's everywhere. I don't think I would have been inspired by classic period drama or The Brothers. You didn't get the sense that there was a sort of imagination to be lit.
The breadth of the imagination. Yeah. And it's something you can aspire to as well. I always felt the Doctor was easier to aspire to than a more conventional superhero type, you know, because it wasn't about being the strongest or the fastest or the, you know. It was
I started warming to the series because when I first started watching it was John Pertwee, who I know you love.
Well. They like to play games, don't we?
He was very much kung fu.
I'm quite spry for my age, actually.
Karate and everything.
Venusian Aikido, gentlemen. I do hope I haven't hurt you.
Tom Baker came in and was that kind of guy who sat back in offices and put his feet up on the desk and think.
Whatever your point of entry is, that's your era, isn't it?
Of course, yeah.
And you either go with changes or you resist. And I think that it's always the great thing about the show is that by and large you've always been able to go with the changes because it's a whole new show again, and you then start to enjoy the change. You know.
Well, there are an incredible number of people now working on the show and working elsewhere in television today who cite Doctor Who as an inspiration.
You can't move for them.
Doctor Who itself is powered by them, really, isn't it? What was about that formative experience that has inspired people in this way? And I suppose if we could name it, then every show would do it. But
I think it makes television look incredibly exciting to children. The idea of having anything to do with something that looks as exciting as that just looks such tremendous fun.
Elsewhere in TV land, lifelong fans John Culshaw and Nev Fountain have found a slightly different way of exploiting their passion for all things Who.
Dead Ringers.
Are you in Doctor Who?
I am known only as the Doctor.
when Tom Baker appeared on Dead Ringers, you were then referencing something that was 20 years previous in the cultural imagination, but that was presumably your influence, the pair of you together.
It's the first time I found out that John was a Doctor Who fan was actually sitting in the audience of Dead Ringers, and he's going, he's being the Doctor. That's a very good Tom Baker impression. He's talking about the Eye of Harmony and Sutekh the Destroyer. He's a Doctor Who fan, isn't he?
Yes. That and thinking, oh, he knows his stuff.
When Doctor Who moved down the M4 to set up production in Cardiff, head writer Russell T Davies and producer Phil Collinson found themselves working on the show they'd been watching all their lives.
When I was a little boy, you know, we'd play Doctor Who. The girl across the street would always be Leela or whatever. And we'd put her in a swimming costume and she'd run round in November.
He's not saying. I'm not joking.
So it sort of was a big part of my kind of growing up, I suppose, the watching of it.
Did you have a scarf or a...
I had a scarf,
and
my scarf has appeared in Doctor Who, my scarf, you
Yeah,
remember, in
it's
the
in the
Christmas
Christmas invasion,
whistle.
yes.
My Auntie Kath
You
knitted
nearly
it
had a
for
heart
me,
attack
my
when you saw
great
those
aunt.
rushes.
I did. I was like, oh.
Not happy. Give him a scarf.
I love
We should start with first episode that you remember.
Episode 4, The 10th Planet.
From peeing all over.
It's William Hartnell's regeneration into Patrick Troughton. That's how old I am. I don't remember the regeneration, but I remember that as it starts, they walk through the door of the TARDIS, and all the switches on the console are working on their own. I was under 3. It was terrifying, and my brain leapt out of my skull. I think the next story then is Patrick Troughton, Power of the Daleks. Clear as day in my mind.
Right.
Terrifying.
You both watched Doctor Who as a child. Do you think that is where your desire to work in television came from?
Yes, like the first stories I used to sort of walk around and think up. You know, we used to play Daleks and Cybermen in the yard, and I would think up stories. I used to draw them. I used to draw cartoons before I used to write scripts, because you don't write scripts as a kid, do you? When you're into Doctor Who, when you're a Doctor Who fan, it's like it was the only show that you had any sort of insight into, like, producers and directors, because there was a making of Doctor Who book that came out in 1973 or something. I was 10. And it talks about script editors and producers and directors. So I think I would have done what I'm doing anyway, but the shape of that was Doctor Who, the template, because that's what I watched and that's what I loved.
Originally, I didn't set out wanting to work behind the scenes. I wanted to be an actor. I went to drama school, and I was for a tiny little couple of years. So, but I think Doctor Who was one of the big reasons I wanted to be an actor. So I suppose by default it's a big reason why I ended up being in TV.
But what about you? Did it make you want to act?
I think it did, yeah. I mean, it's the same. I grew up, it was watching the telly. I was tiny when I decided I wanted to be an actor. But without doubt, one of the big shows that was influencing that, and that probably the only show at first, was Doctor Who.